Hi, my name is Marta Krymarys. I'm from the National Chamber of Audiovisual Producers, in which I'm responsible for projects, and you can meet me there every day. Apart from that, for over 5 years, I'm taking care of green film media, green film production. It is a thing which is difficult, not always accepted, not always understood in the film production. And I have to deal with it at different levels, but I'm not stopping. And the green filming is a very close topic to me all the time. I happened to make a PhD on this, which was also a big thing, but that was not what I was supposed to talk about today. I wanted to tell you about the possibility of balancing our film productions in a simple, sometimes maybe banal way, to make them more sustainable. And by means of introduction, what I will be talking about here today, the research I will be basing on is from October 24. The information about the environment and sustainability changes very fast. You have to remember about that. The things that we will talk about here today about ecological production will sometimes might change, and you have to be aware of that. So if this topic is in any way close to you, I really encourage you to read, to search for things, to verify stuff, because this is extremely important. And the other thing is the fact that this training today is a very basic sort of a training. So I would say it's like a 101 course, and many things might seem banal for you. You might maybe heard about them, and they will be repeated. But I think this is okay. So maybe this reapplication to memory sort of would open your eyes to some possibilities in terms of making our carbon footprint more sustainable. First, I wanted to ask you a question. What is green filming for you? I'm thinking about the first association that you have, emotion thing. Why this? Because instead of a huge film crew with all the divisions, you can make it in a very well thought out way, in a compact way. Use the cinebus, which is sort of supplied with solar power. Have actors leaving the lowest possible carbon footprint. How otherwise you would consider cinebus? Is it a limitation? Not artistic limitation, but it is a limitation of a number of things that you take with you. Yes, that's what I started with. Typically, I'm sorry, I'm sort of repeating after Mr. Iziak. Generally, you have a big crew to make a movie, and everybody have the same equipment several times, whereas it's not necessary. That's a very good point. Does anybody have any other ideas? If not, I can tell you that what I heard from various groups whom I asked this, from students, from people totally not connected to the movies, including they said that the leftist woke ideology, they said turbo motivation, they said the hope, but the most common answer was responsibility and necessity. And I think this is a sort of way of thinking that will be our beacon over the next years, because this change is takes place. The more and more public funds is looking at the sustainability and underlines it in their policy. I will talk about that in a sec, but undoubtedly something is taking place. In my view, this is the topic of the future. As a coordinator, I can tell you that. I will start with the very strong accent that the climate crisis is a fact and we cannot discuss it. And if somebody thinks it's a woke ideology, leftist work ideology, the scientific results show that the activities of human led to the change of the climate. We're not talking about one crisis. It's about the, I would say, multi-layered cake of crises, which impact the loss of biodiversity, loss of glaciers, rising temperature. It's very difficult to deal with it. It's very difficult for us to get used to the situation we're in, because it's bigger than ourselves. You can state it like this. I wanted here to support myself with a certain slogan by a philosopher and Timothy Morton, who in Ecopoetics 3 said that the climate crisis is a hyper object. This is his personal definition of something that is so big that you cannot grasp it with your mind, but it's very close to us. It gets glued to us and it follows us every day, and we are not aware of how this thing is big. So the other object that the Morton the other thing that Morton points to is let's say it's a plastic bag. We get the plastic bag from supermarket, we go home and we put it in the trash bin and we forget about it. Okay, we can maybe notice it when we will be throwing out the trash, but this is our last goodbye, and it disappears from our memory. But her existence does not end. It will get somewhere, and it will either decompose for hundreds of years, or it will go into the incinerator, but it will stay in the world. And it's similar with the climate crisis. It is somewhere around us at all times, and we're not aware the dimensions of what's happening and how the nature tries to deal with this. So what is the impact of our sector? Because the filmmakers are not without fault. I think I lost my presentation. I will be describing what I have in front of me, and what you should see if it was working. The audiovisual sector is the only sector of culture whose carbon footprint is growing, and it's very sad. But it stems from a very simple reason, because we produce more and more. We need more content, we need to fill in the content, we have to fill in the internet, we have to fill in the cinemas, TV broadcasters, agendas, all other platforms of accessing the clients. We produce more and more. And is it here? As it stems from the paper made by the European Commission, one film generates 192 tons of CO2, one European feature film, for which you need to neutralize which you need 1 kilometer of the forest. But we're not talking here about the forest that has been planted as an offset. Let's say we buy so many. We go to a place which we like, or which is useful for us. I mean, where we want to plant. It is a forest which has to be like 40-50 years old. So you need time for the nature to renew itself, to fight for its resources, and we have to remember that. And in terms of scale of impact, I can only give you information about Poland. If we relate to this, that one feature film in Europe is 192 tons of CO2. In Poland in 2023, according to the General Statistical Office, we produced 362 films, out of which 106 movies were full feature movies and 256 were shorts and average length movies. So these were just the movies that just went to distribution, so those that are produced in mainstream. On top of this, you have internet, you have our own productions. Even though today we're talking about our professional sphere. So the scale is humongous, and you have to remember about that, because our decisions have direct impact on what's happening around us. As we deal pretty well with the topic of ecology in our private lives, because we learn to separate trash, we know certificates, we know how to choose products, because we care about natural resources, so that our children, future generations, have had a better life. In a professional scope, we do have a problem. We like to lay responsibility with somebody else. This is like with every aspect of our work in terms of sustainability. This becomes like this comes to the foreground, because in theory we're doing very well. In practice, we are looking for certain excuses, or maybe an explanation why don't we sort trash on the set, because we say that we don't have time, or somebody else did it in the wrong way, so there was no point to do that, and we're sort of putting that responsibility with somebody else. So, and here we have the role of a consultant, who on one hand is supposed to take off the shoulders of the producer and the whole crew the obligation to think and plan the sustainable film production, but this de facto does not has to be a person who will do everything for us. It will not be a person who will be standing next to the trash bin saying, put this here, put this there. Because we need to have community, and community is very important. And everything everything is built of even the smallest efforts of the parts of the crew, in order that we could get to the right results. We need that consultant. It has to be the person that is employed very early. This is what happens also in the West. In order to get the certificate, you need to think about the sustainable production at this stage of a script. It's not always possible. The role of a consultant, the job of a consultant, is not regulated in Poland in any way. You can get trained if such training is possible and available. You can get trained by KIPA or the Polish Film Institute or the regional film funds. Such trainings appear systematically. This year I will be leading them for the third time, so we get those signals. The competition that allows to get the certificate of a consultant or the ambassador of green production was organized last year in KIPA, and this year it will be also organized. So please follow the information closely. But legally, there's no such profession like the consultant of intimate scenes. We do not have certificates in Poland. So you cannot apply for the Polish badge of quality. I know that there are commercials which have Italian certificates of film screen. These are commercials made by Polish production houses. They were shot in Italy. They went through the certification process and they received the distinction. In Poland, no function of frameworks is in existence that would allow us to receive such certificates. We can apply for certificates from other countries, but as far as I know, nobody undertook that. But still, every Polish production can also. I will give you more details about that. But you can apply for the British Albert certificates, a big label which can be included in end titles, and it guarantees that the film is made in a sustainable way. So eco consultant or sustainable consultant is a profession with a future. It also has a future because in order to co-produce abroad, we would have to neutralize our filming set, because in order to get public funding in Germany, you would have to follow the norms. you have to have a green motion label, which is a certificate, and you have to get a certain number of points in order to be able to receive the public funding. It's a similar case like in the case of media, like Krymarys, for example, where you get a premium for your sustainable activity. In Poland, we have 2 regional funds which give you a premium for such a behavior. It's Łódź Film Fund, which gives 5 additional points, and it's a Krakow Film Fund. It's a bit more complicated than that, but it allows you to settle ecological costs from your co-production, and it allows you to limit the spendings, the local spend. You can limit the local spending if it's sort of sustainable. I can tell you more individually later. It's good to think about this eco-consultant. On the website of KIPA, you have the list of people who passed this training. Of course, there are many more people who deal with this. So it would be good if it's a person who has a knowledge both in terms of ecology, biology, environmental protection, widely understood management of waste management, but also a person who's aware of how does the film industry works, how audiovisual production works. Eco consultant should be placed in a production department. It should not be a person totally from the outside who would immediately be a scapegoat or an enemy, like an alien who superimposes certain things on us. He should be a building block of the whole mechanism, and he should support. But the crew should also know why the eco consultant is there. I had the chance to work several times as an eco consultant, even though I believe that these were not like fully featured work of the job of eco consultant, because I was not in a filming set, which I really regret. But the producer informed me that it's his decision, and he doesn't feel the need to have me there. My role as a consultant was limited to writing assumptions of the production for ecology, for individual motions, for Euromesh and Creative Europe, and for Łódź Film Festival, because that's the biggest motivator for the producers, the money, and that's where everything happens. Here you have the examples of materials that were prepared for a feature movie, which premiered this month. Haya Films. It was a producer that took into account ecological elements. It got additional points from the Łódź Film Institute. They required that to have a certain style. That's how it was created. The memo was sent in the first email, like in the introductory email to the crew, where the producer says ecology is important for us, and that it's gonna be good. We will help you with that, etc. So the narrative was supposed to be very positive. The stickers reminding that you should shut down the light and turn off the light and turn off the water. So very simple things. So these are the cards that were put in the locations. The location was very helpful in this movie, because they were shooting 90% of the film in the theater, which allowed them to switch to connect it directly to the grid, access to running water, and to segregation of the waste. So it was very good from the outset. But you have to remind people what we're throwing in, because it's difficult for me too. I must admit that I sometimes don't know which fraction, which sort of trash should go into which bin. So this sort of an manual or an instruction is very helpful, and nobody should get offended about that. Two definitions that will be, or two terms which will be appearing somewhere in this discussion about green filming, but I believe that they also grow in strength, and it's good to know them. One is planet placement, which is the structuring the narrative layer of the script, and our approach to film, to storytelling, is so that we could convey ecological convey ecological ideas. We don't want to ideologize our viewers. It's more that to think whether an actor has to walk around with a single use cup from a cafe, or and do it in a very natural way. So not to underline that everything should be about ecology, but to think about it in advance. This is also thinking that our films do matter, and they change the behaviors of the viewers, and we have known that for over 100 years since the cinema was conceived, that we are influencing our audience, but we can also impact them within the scope of taking care of the environment. A very good example is Simona. I don't know if you've seen that movie. Simona is a movie which absolutely, in terms of content, is a beautiful example of planet placement. And I think there will be more and more such productions. This is another thing, like Alberts underlines that very strongly in the UK. The films that have planet placement can get additional bonuses, and they're also dedicated script writing trainings and workshops for that. It's when you have to think about the script in such a way that you write in such a way that to have as little changes of location as possible, to have locations which are not so energy intensive. You don't have to go to Hawaii, it's enough to go to Spain, or maybe something in Poland, or maybe we should go from natural location to a production hall. It all depends on the individual production. Calculating the carbon footprint, because sometimes, and sadly, it's limited only to that, but it's good to think that certain I would say certain wave in script writing like this is being born. Deloitte in 2022 made a research. It's totally separated from the film industry, but it is interesting in that the majority of us, we are working with other people. We employ other people. We invite them to cooperate. Then younger and younger people entering the job market. The generations which are looking at the environment in a totally different way than the older generations. And in this study, Deloitte asked hundreds of people from all around the world, so young people, including Poland, what they see the biggest threat in their life, and over the majority said that it's the climate crisis. And this was made just after COVID, which was very astonishing to the scientists, that these young people they're more afraid about the climate change than their own health. Also, in this study, the young people pointed out that one of the important features that impacts the selection of the time that they would like to work is environmental policy of the company. And the environmental policy that is being created, it is not only some sort of an inscription of an ideal world on a piece of paper. So they were caring about it for real. Another term you probably met is greenwashing. It applies not only to filming industry, well, even more to other industries than AV, but it also happens in AV industry, because some people tend to say that his movie is very ecological, but that's absolutely untrue. Greenwashing is creating the impression with the buyers, with the customers and audiences, which is to make them feel that they're buying sustainable products, which is contrary to the facts. There are few vices of greenwashing. They are described here: lack of proof, unclear descriptions, false etiquettes, false labeling. There's the colors of the ground. So if the producers, for example, using our very simple associations as consumers, if they state that we put the green, brown, bronze, etc., we would think that these products are ecological, which is not true. This is exactly the same content, no certificates, no proof that we are planet friendly. So I would say our only defense is the knowledge about the certificates which are in the market. We should somehow know them. Sometimes we should get interested and read more. And the increasing awareness of the consumers make it less and less popular. Also, legislative activities also are curbing that. In European Union, it will be punished by a law. There are provisions which are being introduced to the law that would protect people from greenwashing. It is a bit of a shield from the authorities. Getting to the gist of it, these are the key areas of production that are most detrimental to environment. Are of course, or I would say that work against this detrimental effect is the energy efficiency, mobility, location and lodgings, materials, and the catering. I think I didn't surprise you here. Let me quickly go through all of them. And when it comes to energy, the most important thing is the energy mix, and we are aware that in Poland the energy mix is not ideal, and it's pretty far from ideal. And we, as human beings, it's very difficult for us to do anything with it, because we don't have impact on the energy transformation taking place, but it does take place, and we can see that certain activities towards green energy or atomic energy take place in Poland. So we start from the mix, but apart from that, what else we can do in our filming sets is the limitation that you've mentioned, which means that we maybe don't need two trucks of equipment if we think about certain things properly, and if we prepare certain materials for ourselves, then the minimization might work well. Also, the generators, if you need them on the set, let them be in a minimal number, and also the burning of fuels will be limited to minimum. Let's use batteries, like multi-use batteries rather than single-use batteries, of course depending on the willingness of the cameraman to cooperate in that respect. Let's use LED lights instead of discharge lights. Let's try the possibility of connecting to the grid, and these possibilities are more and more popular in cities, and the local governments are trying to support people, support filmmakers within the local grids in cooperation with, to be sustainable with their production. The use of energy, like here are a few tips how you can decrease the consumption of energy. First of all, you turn off the laptop during loading the battery. After loading, you should take out the charger from the socket, etc., etc. So you can see these are pretty simple, and those small things, but the general saving, which helps the sustainable production, makes us to save money too. So you shouldn't also put in a snooze mode, your laptop in a snooze mode just for a while. So you should put it in a snooze mode instead of turning off if it's just for a while. In terms of mobility and transport and travel, I wouldn't get into a discussion whether electric cars are good or not, and what we should do with the batteries which catch fire, because this is also a thing that is in the process, and we need to remember about that there is a certain dynamics of change, and we can only observe certain things. But in case of transport or broader mobility, what we should take into account is, like with energy, good planning. We should plan through dedicated documents so the plan of sustainable transport, where we write down the stages of transport, the required fleet of equipment for the transportation of humans and material, and equipment, the how much fuel they burn, how many people will be in the car, plus the plus the roads, plus the distance they would have to cover. Initially it would require a lot of work, but once we implement this, just like in case of a daily work plan or the like the budget or whatever, it's another document that should be our support and not only an unnecessary formality or additional red tape. Because at the moment where we see that something works or it doesn't work, we are able to better adjust the assumptions and the solutions to our own production, because otherwise we are just feeling the things in the dark. Also, using trains instead of airplanes, shared commuting or transportation, employing local crews and local people, also having a camp very close to the hotel and to this filming set. We also sometimes have a possibility, which is also great, but better from the financial reason, is to leave equipment in the location and hiring security instead of transferring it to the hotel and location. And if we are making city shots, let's try to encourage the crew to use bikes or bicycles, or rent those bicycles, or to walk if this is possible, or use public communication. So public transport. Is everything clear for you? There are very few of us, but I hope I will be able to get to the end. Another thing are locations. And here you have the map of Poland, as you can see, with marked systems or protected areas in Poland. When I for the first time saw these places, there are many more than I assumed initially, that a majority of our country are places which require special protection, and we should not be filming there. If we have to film there, we should do it first, agree that with the forest authorities, but also in such a way not to breach the integrity of those places, and to we should not use huge lamps, we should not generate additional noise, we should not get loads of cars into the forest, we do not pump up the size of the crew. We're trying to minimize everything in such a way that we are almost unseen there. In terms of location, you always take care of it. This is another thing that we should know, and you're fully aware of this, because apart from the fact that it's good to take care of a location, it's in good manners, it's also good for the environment. We need to look for locations which have direct connections for sewage and water and energy, because this is very important, because we do not use generators, for example. Let's look for certified hotels, or let's look for hotels which are close to the location. If we are doing scouting, let's try to do the scouting make virtually with the use of materials from the Film Commission or local governments, because quite often these places have location databases. More and more filming halls also provide energy from green sources. The specifics of the project dictate the rules, but we are able to find out in pre-production what would be better from the artistic point of view, but also ecological point of view. So much about the green areas. Materials, a thing that should follow us and be with us is the closed cycle economy. If we don't need to buy, let's rent, let's use things that we have. If we're buying, let's buy certified stuff from proven sources, that do not have some detrimental substances for environment. Here again, conscious planning is also very, very important. Talking to a set designer, asking whether we were able to build the set design out of materials that are easily decomposable. Let's try to reuse materials too. And so it goes. This is in case of this is what relates to the materials. The waste is another thing that connects to the materials, and it's very important for the materials to the waste to be well segregated. We do not to throw away maybe everything. Maybe we'll be able to give away some things to people who need it more, or create spaces that would help us to exchange props or costumes or elements of set design with the other authors. I know that Polish costume designers, some of them, have this idea to create a joint warehouses for costumes, and these are solutions which are very helpful to the ecological film production. Here we have a fragment of a video telling about how a film was made in a very low carbon footprint way. Two producers will be talking about that. They have certified projects under their belt. They are the ambassadors of green production. It's a Slovakian company, and they will be telling you how they realize their pictures, thinking about the good of the planet.
Čiže sme certifikovaným ambasádorom v tomto smere. Film, ako aj iné odvetvia práce, vlastne tiež prispievajú k tomu, že sa zväčšuje uhlíková stopa a my sa snažíme tomu predchádzať rôznymi opatreniami. V podstate tým, že aj tento film sa odohráva viac menej na jednom mieste, na jednom hoteli, tak predchádzame viacerým zbytočným odpadom a s negatívnym dopadom na životné prostredie. Napríklad tým, že využívame miestnu kuchyňu lokálnu, alebo všetci bývame na tom mieste, kde aj nakrúcame, čiže sa celkom eliminuje doprava. Ináč používame znovu použiteľné fľaše, vyhľadávame aj partnerov, ktorí podporujú naše ciele. Snažím sa robiť v tomto smere osvetu, nie vždy je to jednoduché, ale pomalými krôčikmi k tomu smerujeme, aby sme v každom projekte boli lepšie a lepšie a stále viac ekologickejší.
As you can see, these are not solutions that are like a huge discovery or very innovative. This is just high awareness and good planning. The last of the areas that have a huge impact on the production is catering and food. Here you have a fragment of a study, Saving the Planet Starts at Breakfast, where they point out that if for half a day we will eat vegan, and only after the half a day we will eat meat afterwards, our impact on the environment will be much smaller, much better, rather than if we were vegetarians throughout the day. When I learned about it, it was a total eye-opening thing, and it was incredible. I really recommend this book for you. It's a publication of Krytyka Polityczna. The ecological books in this publishing house are very interesting. It says about that if we eat vegan, we will save the world, because food is one of the areas that can stop the climate crisis. The other one is the question of our travels, and it's much more difficult. And the third one is having children, and it is most important for us. So let's start with the food. The same goes for the film production. The food is a thing that the producer has the biggest impact on, because it's the producer who orders the food. I heard in one of the trainings of ecological production, I heard a tip that in French sets they have vegan and vegetarian menu, and if somebody wants to have meat, has to ask for it. So they reversed the idea of how to put stress on certain solutions, and the crew got used to that. They started to like it, because that's the most important thing. If we order vegan or vegetarian, they need to be very tasty, and they need to be something that people like to eat, and they said, wow, I never thought that eating this green could be so good. And or introducing one day during the day which would be vegetarian. Also in the Polish tradition, in the Catholic tradition, we have one day of fast, which is Friday. I had this with the older people, especially with older members of the crew. People tend to not eat meat on Fridays. We have to think about whether we need a canteen booth, or can we use the resources of local food, local restaurants which serve seasonal food. And if we need to have a canteen booth, we should have one which has dishwasher, which serves on ceramic plates, not on plastic plates. There are more and more such buses on the market, and this change is taking place before our very eyes. Let's try to avoid capsules. I know it's we have capsuled coffee machines, which is horrible from the point of view of ecology. Let's try to think about fair trade coffee, about certified coffee. Let's encourage the crew to bring in their own cups, and because not always buying cups for the crew works well, then later such a person has so many, like 30 containers for water in his flat, and doesn't bring his own to the set for some obscure reason. So let's try to encourage the crew to make a certain effort and take up the responsibility. We will ensure everything else, but this responsibility should be somewhere there. And in Poland, in majority of places, you can drink tap water, so encourage people to do that. And if it's not tap water, filter the water in our taps and sinks. Try to avoid small plastic bottles. One thing that I really wanted to recommend to you is a publication, the Atlas of Meat from 2022. A very an interesting thing. Where we are in Poland, from the point of view of production, it's horrible, because we're the biggest producer of poultry in Europe, and one of the 3 in the world where this industrial production of meat is very high in Poland. And this is I'm very sorry about that, but it also shows to what extent our consumer behavior what it looks like. And there's a whole chapter where we are as consumers, whether like including vegetarians and vegans. So an interesting stuff. Concrete things that can help us implement all the elements that I've mentioned. The first one, the carbon footprint calculators, which in case of foreign certificates and is obligatory. In terms of certificates in the market, there are several of them on the market. They do not differ too much. To a larger extent, they're free, and I encourage you to take use of them, to go through them, to test them, to find out what is it all about. And the calculator, just like any other technical tool, is just a support. We are there we need to collect the information. We need to remember about certain things. And what takes sort of gets into the calculator, it is dependent on us. It is to underline those areas which requires more of our attention. What is also extremely important is a thing that I mentioned, so additional resources or additional points. Not allowing for certain activities of a producer. This is also already implemented in France. It was also introduced in Finland and in Scandinavian countries. Poland is one of the few countries which does not yet have in their policy a cinematographic policy, the pro-ecological solutions. I know that in operational programs for 2025 that are under consultation right now, there is supposed to be a provision about green production, because without that we will not move on. And this is a real problem, that if the institute doesn't give us a signal that we have to change as an industry, from the point of view of producers, they don't care really. Clean awards, they've been there. They are awarded in Cannes, for example. Also in Poland, you can get an award for ecological film production. They will call the film of climate. Today is film for climate, and I will tell you more about this in a sec. Here you have two calculators, which you saw on the previous slide. I can share this presentation with you if you prefer, if you wish. These are the calculators. One of them is British and it's in English, and it's only in English. We enter the website, the albert.com website. You have toolkit there, and in this tab you enter the calculator. You set up an account there. The account is free of charge, but you have to go through a verification process. So if your company is not registered, and I assume it's not, then you enter the name of the film, the company, then the name of the film, and Albert will contact you and will let you know, hey, you're in the system, you can count your carbon footprint. The second calculator is Eureka. Eureka is a calculator created on the request of European Commission. It's allowed in several language versions. You have Polish is not there, unfortunately, but it's a calculator which is less intuitive than Albert. I like Albert a lot and I use it a lot. However, it is also okay. It is recommended by Eurimash, so it is fully free, and you can enter the website and sort of you can register there and test it. There is an organization called Film dla Klimatu, a film for climate. It's a voluntary group with different institutions which are. This is for organizations from audiovisual industry who are caring about the nature, about the climate. So I also have a pleasure to belong there. There was a portal was created last year that brings together all the basic information about ecological production. Oh, I can show, and we have a spot there.
Efekty mogą być nawet fajne. Ale nie chodzi tu o to, żeby ciągle grać na zielonych tłach. To w zasadzie byłoby dosyć straszne. Ale o to, żebyśmy zmieniali nasze nawyki na te przyjazne środowisku. Pozdrawiam serdecznie. Maciej Musia.
So we hope that this will be a viral movie. It's not, but you probably expect why. Yeah, this way or another, it was created. Here are this year's laureates of the Film for Climate Award. There were 3 awards given out so far. There were supposed to be 2. The jury decided there will be a distinction. We had a feature. in any that is present in any competition of Polish feature films in Gdynia, and a short which is also in the competition of shorts in Gdynia. Simona got an award for the full feature, and for the short one Grajdło, and the distinction got the przyciąganie, which is the draw. They got a financial award and a study visit in Brussels. So 15,000 is quite a good money, judging by other awards you get from Gdynia. And there are very few, the producers can submit films to this award, and the producers can submit it there, stating what they did for the environment. It's an analogous process that Europrod makes in France with Cannes First Festival, and this year we had 7 or 8 films applying this year, so the chance to win is very high. This year jury consisted of 5 or 6 people. There was a representative of European Commission, of the association, the representative of authors, and you open the forms and you decide that what is the level in a given year, because it differs depending on years, and how does it work? There are no clear-cut criteria. It is an expert's choice, so to speak. And also, it depends on how the producer will fill in the form. If he's able to add documentation or other sort of documentation, it's always an upside.
Don't have to translate.
Yeah, so that is difficult, but in terms of PR, the European Commission wants to keep that award just to underline somehow, or to somehow award those who are thinking about environment when producing our Polish movies. So that is a very short summary where you can get the information from both from strictly ecological film production, but also more broadly about the knowledge about the climate crisis, about our environment. There are spaces which support this, which are dedicated also to film production. And I really recommend those places to you because I use them myself. One more thing that was created 2 years ago, it was published during the Earth Day, which was a nice touch. I'm one of the co-authors of this publication, and this is the only publication so far that brings together the information about the sustainable film production in every dimension of the production. This is what we hope, at least. It is available online. It is free of charge in a very interactive form, and I really recommend that you follow it and you download it, you go through it. I like it a lot, even though 2 or maybe 3 years passed since this was published. I still use it a lot, and I really recommend it to others because as a starting point, this is a very useful resource. And that is all. We got to the end. I'm leaving you the space for the questions or comments, and I would like to invite you to contact me. This is something that I like, and I think that this is the thing of the future. Oh. Yes, the French did such research. I don't remember now what was the name of the report.